do is read the valedictory address that I gave at graduation. So, you know, it's a cliche that nobody remembers what speakers say at graduation. I actually don't remember giving it. I do, however, have a strong memory of going back to school the day after graduation and retrieving my manuscript from the podium, which is why I happen to have it. This is a Xerox copy of it that I'm going to read from. And I was able to find it in my papers at home. In the course of finding that, I actually came across the class will from our junior high school graduation in 1959. I delivered that as well, and I remember that a little bit more. At least I remember that when I got to the first joke that people laughed. The first joke was that we gave our sponsor, Mr. Powell, that was Mr. Cloyce Powell, we left him a comb knowing that he would never part with it. Bryce, that was funnier than I did. But actually, I don't remember what happened after that. I don't remember the other parts of that program. But in thinking about this, I did remember, actually quite well, an assembly at junior high school in the 7th grade. You may remember that we had this magazine subscription drive where we were supposed to sell magazines and so on. And I came in second in that, mostly I think because my parents made their friends and relatives buy subscription. I came in second, and I got to go onto the stage, the junior high school assembly, and get my prize. At the time, I think I was the only 12-year-old boy in Chickasha that didn't have a 22, so I chose a 22 rifle for my prize, which was awarded to me at that school assembly. You know, there's a lot of things that change. Some for the good and some for the bad. I think this is something's changed for the bad. But can you imagine something like that happening today? A kid being presented, 12-year-old being presented a rifle at a school assembly. By the way, it's a bolt-action Marlin, a two-pad, and I still have it. It's at the back of one of the gun safes, but it's every once in a while I take it out. It's kind of rusty on the outside, and it needs optics, but it's functional. You're kind of like us. One more preliminary comment before I get to this. This is handwritten, and as you'll see that I do my best to read my writing from that. There's a story connected with that. You know, Robert Vaughn and I were competing to be who was the valedictorian and salutatorian. And Robert's mother made him take typing his senior year. Something which I, of course, encouraged. And he got a B and I got to be valedictorian. For me. But, you know, actually, in some things I thought I always had an edge on Robert anyway. And one of them, you know, we both became college professors. And Robert isn't here tonight because he's got a class to teach that he feels he can't miss. And I retired last May. Now you can read that any way you want. Anyway, here we go. Mr. Foley, Mr. Day, faculty, fellow classmates, and visitors. We, the class of '62, are here tonight to receive the certificates of our education. Of the over 200 of us who came here in 1959 from junior high, only 155 remain. Those of us who do know how much effort has gone into the privilege to march in the graduation line. As we leave the stage tonight, the receipt of our education in our hands, we face one of the brightest futures man has ever known. When we came into this world 17 or 18 years ago, television was a shaky experiment and satellites a fanciful dream. We have witnessed man tearing apart the very atoms of his world to release undreamed of power. We have been present at such myriad technological advances as radios no bigger than a thumbnail and jet airplanes the size of flying restaurants. And in the great and glamorous world of the opportunities that gleam just beyond graduation seem fantastic. Today's graduate is not only better educated than his counterpart of 50 years ago, but because of modern medical advances, is taller, less susceptible to disease, and we can expect to live years longer. The doors that open into the future seem almost limitless. Doors that only a few decades ago were only barely open have now swung wide to admit more and more of those who knock. The vast fields of job opportunities and higher standards of living stand beckoning to each of us as we leave this stage tonight. In fact, there are so many doors opening into the future that we sometimes forget that behind us, doors are slamming shut. High school has already joined the past. We will not be permitted to make up life's failures in summer school, and we can never turn back from the future we face. It's a far brighter future than the classes before us have walked into, but also a far more complex one. The world that this class has faced has always been a complex one. Most of us were only a year old when the atomic age began. When we first learned to read back in 1951, the newspaper headlines were about the Korean War. When we took science for the first time in junior high back in 1957, the news was about Sputnik, and suddenly science grades became a Cold War strategy. We entered high school in 1959, the same year Castro entered Cuba as another battleground for the world's power struggle. And just last week, we heard American troops being ordered to fortify Southeast Asia. Besides having to understand the why and how of these events, we also are supposed to understand algebra and economics, English and mechanics, the problems of the past, and the way to conjugate a verb in another language. On all this, our survival as individuals and a nation rests on our education. So it is that when we say farewell tonight, we are not saying goodbye to education. We are leaving a building, a special building to us, but a building nonetheless. We are leaving some people and memories that we will never forget, and we are leaving a way of life that we have liked, and a simplicity to which we can never return. We are leaving many things, but not learning. Whether we continue with formal education or not, we must continue to strive for more knowledge, for without knowledge, the future we are to make our way in is beyond our grasp. It is this future that we march into tonight, with higher peaks of opportunity and deeper pitfalls than man has ever known. One mere segment of our lives is closing behind us, high school, to which we must say farewell. But the purposes to which this school is dedicated, those of education, shall and must stay with us forever. Once every 50 years.
But anybody